In the gold rush years of the 1920s and 30s, Bulolo airstrip was the busiest on the planet. It was here that aviation history was made, with the most airlifts between Bulolo and Salamoa. Mining in the Bulolo area made air travel viable, with the area producing an average of 3 tons of gold every year. Today, the airstrip, privately owned by Bulolo Forest Products, sees very little action. While the airfield is maintained, the same can't be said about rural airstrips in other parts of the country. Many have not been maintained, and the planes have stopped going there because the cost of air transport has risen considerably. At the weekend, Civil Aviation Minister Davis Stevens said the government is now looking at making air transport cheaper by cutting taxes and subsidizing fuel.
Subsidizing New Guinea has not been any trouble for the national government. And I say this with respect. I believe that if New Guinea has been subsidized and has attained the success that it has achieved, then I believe that it's now time we look at subsidizing those who are out there servicing our rural majority.
Papua New Guinea used to have more than 1,000 operational airstrips. In the 60s and 70s, we had among the highest number of third-level commercial flights into rural areas. Today, there are a little over 200 airstrips. Since taking office, the Civil Aviation Minister has found that the government doesn't have a working policy on rural airstrips, and that's meant that while funding was allocated, there's been no clear direction on airstrip maintenance and upkeep.
For as long as there was the Department of Civil Aviation, rural airstrips was within the scope of the work of that department. I believe that attention on rural airstrips just simply subsided over time. But when the reforms were made in 2010, and about that time, I believe that people just simply forgot.
North Coast Aviation is one of the few airlines still operating in the Morobe province. Their planes go to places like Kabum and Garaina that have no road access. It's a vital service. The airline's management wouldn't comment on camera, but they said the fuel costs make travel to rural areas as expensive as Air New Guinea flights from Lae to Port Moresby. Fuel subsidies and the recently created Rural Airstrips Authority now bring much needed attention to places once forgotten. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lae.